There you go. We can do better than that. The man of the hour has arrived in his family. All right, you can take a seat. We're going to serve Bishop and his family now. We're going to serve Bishop and his family now, and we'll start the program. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and start the program. Good evening to everyone tonight. My name is Dr. Green, and I have the First Lady of my home here, Bernice. And we was honored to Bishop to allow us to be the event chair and the chairperson. And we want to welcome and thank you for being honored to our pastor, Bishop James Wallace Edwin Dixon II. For 41 years, since he was 18 years old, he has been touching people, teaching people, leading people, helping people, and serving people. This has been Bishop Dixon's way of serving God. So tonight, this is a double honor celebration. We're celebrating Bishop Dixon for 41 years of pastoral and global service. That deserves a round of applause. I can say about 41 years ago, I was riding a bike. And we're also celebrating his 60th birthday. And we don't want you to leave tonight without at least taking a picture of the ice sculpture, and then we have a cake to our left that looks like the church. Please take pictures of that so that you can have a memorabilia of being here tonight. His birthday was on November 12th. Let's begin with an invocation by Bishop John Ogletree. Invocation. Let's give him a round of applause.
Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we are thankful that we can assemble here tonight for an elevated appreciation of Bishop James Dixon. Many of us have patted him on the back and have thanked him and have said amen, but tonight is a night of elevated appreciation. Your word is said, give honor to whom honor is due. And honor is due this awesome servant, this selfless servant, this sacrificial servant. So let everything be done tonight in an elevated way. And let him sense and feel that we in this room appreciate everything that he's done. Thank you for 60 years. Thank you for 41 years. Thank you that we can be here tonight and elevate our love and appreciation for this great man of God. Bless him. In Jesus' name, amen.
We just want to say thank you for coming out and having some fun with our bishop of the Community of Faith Church. Thank you for sharing this evening of elevated appreciation. To guide our program, we have two, not one, but two amazing MCs. Following this video, please welcome the TV news professionals from KPRC 2, Cambrell Marshall, and from KTRK ABC 13, Maya Shea.
Born to James and Carolyn Dixon, November 12, 1962, James Wallace Edwin Dixon II has become a servant leader who is clearly worthy of double honor. The evidence, sovereign grace, and the power of God can be seen throughout his childhood until this very day. Jimmy, as he was commonly called, grew up surrounded by love. His immediate family consisted of his parents, James and Carol, and siblings, Tanya, Timothy, and Calandria. While both parents worked really hard, the early days were pretty tough. Raising 3 kids and then 4 came with serious challenges. But God's grace always prevailed. He was nurtured and raised in the Greater Mount Pillow Missionary Baptist Church, pastored by his late grandfather, Pastor C.D. Dixon. His maternal grandparents were funeral owners, Titus and Victoria Barnes. Little Jimmy, as he was sometimes called, excelled in sports, in music, and could scrap with bigger and older boys. He always respected and listened to elders. He was called to preach at age 15 and was called to pastor at age 18. Now, 41 years later, at age 60, God has used him to build, to develop, to lead, to encourage and unite people, to raise some amazing children, to pastor the Community of Faith Church, and to change the lives of countless thousands. That's why we are here for an evening of elevated appreciation, giving God glory and his honor, the Bishop, Dr. James Wallace Edwin Dixon II.
Good evening, good evening. You know, it's nice to hear Larry Jones do that oration. That's good. You get Funky Larry Jones will do your video. Boy, that's good. Magic 102 there. My name is Cambrell Marshall, KPRC2 meteorologist, anchor, host of Houston Newsmakers, and I am honored to be here tonight. There are so many people here. We could do all the business of the city and the county right here. We got the mayor, we got the fire chief, we got the police chief, the head of the FBI, we got the head of HISD, we got Congress people here. We could do it all right here, and we could solve a lot of problems. We could get it done. And that is a tribute to this man who we're honoring here tonight. I couldn't get one of you to come out to my celebration, but you're all here for Bishop James Dixon. Well, maybe two. Mary, you'd show up, wouldn't you? Fire chief, you show up. Yeah, okay, maybe three. But Bishop Dixon has emerged in our community as a leader of consciousness, and today he's a community bridge builder. He is highly regarded, as you know, as a civic leader, social justice leader, a thought leader, motivational speaker, an author, a writer, a music producer, preacher, pastor, and most of all, over-the-top committed and loving dad. We're here to celebrate 41 years of pastoral ministry, which means, yeah, you were pastoring really, really early, leading a flock. Clearly, only God could have done that in your life. To speak to James Dixon, the pastor, we have Pastor Philip Kent Sr. and Deontay McClendon. Please come.
Good evening. Certainly it's an honor to be here on tonight and to honor and celebrate such a man of God as Bishop Dixon. He has been what the scripture teaches us, steadfast, unmovable, and always abiding in the word of God. I met him because I married his cousin. And that was the great thing to do. And I met him. He was so excited about my athletic ability. I went to Booker T. Washington High where his father went. I was trying to figure out how he ended up at Waltrip, and his dad went to Washington. And so I just figured that they got the W's mixed up, and so that was the end of the story. But Bishop Dixon has certainly been an inspiration to our family, and we love him. He is my father in the ministry, and I have learned so much from him. Congratulations. It's good to be here tonight to celebrate and honor you. You are certainly mentors to this city and state and everywhere, and so we appreciate you and love you. So we honor you tonight, my brother. Well, he wanted me to share when I was the chairman of the deacon board. I didn't want to share that part of it because, yes, I can recall those years when I was chairman of the deacon board, and Bishop, we had 12 deacons, and that sounded like disciples. 12 disciples, but we was they call us the dirty 12. And so anytime we wanted to get into a discussion in the middle of the night, we would meet when we think Bishop was asleep. We'll meet at the church around up until 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning. And Bishop wanted to know, well, what y'all talking about? I said, well, Reverend, we just trying to, make sure that the church is going to continue to do well. He said, why y'all didn't include me into the meeting? I said, well, you too young. He was like 18, and all of us was 35 and up. And so we was really some of us was lazy deacons. And Bishop figured that out. And he said, well, we can't have lazy deacon making decisions for the church. And so I'm going to give y'all 1 year to fix it. And after that 1 year, he had to remove about 6 of us. And I wasn't one of those. I was an athlete, so I knew how to adjust and get in line. He gave us 1 year to get it right, and about 6 of them didn't get it right. And so he removed those 6. But when I look back at it, and I can see that it was worthy of the cause, and now look at what he has done in this city. He has done some great things. I am so proud of Bishop James. We talk all the time, and I'm proud of and love him. And the only thing, if anything, that I can say that I was better than him is that I was a better football player than he was.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. My name is Deontay McClendon. I'm a product of Bishop Dixon's ministry in the Community of Faith Church. Thank you. So this evening has already been established that we're going to honor our bishop with double honor, amen? All right, so I felt, as I'm talking about Bishop's ministry, I should talk about how out-the-box Bishop's ministry is. And I thought about, if we're going to do it to honor Bishop with double, we might as well do it with a double roast. So let's go ahead and get this going. I thought about it, this has been Bishop's only job for 41 years. It was a very long time. So I thought about what job would Bishop do if he was not a preacher? I got 3 points in the closing. I promise you it's going to be 2 minutes. First thing I thought about, Bishop would probably be a good lawyer because he can argue a text, he can argue, he can get his point across, and he's going to get his point across, and he's going to get his point across. All right, so I think that's the first one. Secondly, I think he would be a good plumber because he's always getting into things to make it better, yeah. So I think he's always in the trenches, always doing things like that, and always getting into some mess to make it better and dragging the whole world around with him too. So I think that's ministry. But I also thought about it, he could also be a producer because he likes music and giving out instructions. So I think that would work as well. But if he had to really choose a career, I think he would make a great architect. Because Bishop has been known to be a bridge builder. When you look across this world, when you look across this city, when you look across this country and see how Bishop has brought not only the mayor, but he's also preached to people around the country. Someone that has a footprint not in the political world, but on the economic landscape, and it continues to impact the world. So Bishop, we're going to keep roasting you all night. I know that's coming. But in the meantime, I think you should know, when you look at young men like myself and those that span the room, that you don't just impact people with your preaching, but with your life, and that you've made generational impacts. And let us continue to celebrate all night long. God bless you.
Hi, everyone. Y'all looking good tonight. I know it's slow raining, it's Monday night, but y'all looking good. My name's Maya Shea, I'm a reporter with ABC 13, and when Dr. Dixon asks, you can't say no, so I'm thrilled to be here with all of you tonight. Dr. James Dixon the second is an advisor to elected officials. He sits on several prestigious boards. He gives leadership to pastors and churches around the nation. He might be seen in the company of some of the most powerful people, that included all of you here tonight, of course, encouraging a homeless person or inspiring a group of children. So let's hear from a few people who are very familiar with our honoree. All of us are here, have been enriched by the dedicated servant leader, Bishop James Dixon II. And to get us started, we have a few people to speak about Dr. Dixon as a dedicated servant leader in social impact and social justice. Please welcome Jacqueline Aludo, Dr. Rod Page, and Superintendent Mellor House II.
Good evening. It
is great to be here. I am Millard House, Superintendent of the Houston Independent School District, and it of course does me great honor to be here with you, Bishop Dixon. I changed my flight to be here with you. We were supposed to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but you were one of the first individuals that greeted me when I came to this city. So I owe you, and I would rather be nowhere but here with you. It does me great honor to be here tonight with the distinguished leaders in our community. This is truly an evening, as I've heard, of elevated appreciation. I want to thank you for having me here this evening. A special thanks to Reverend Bill Lawson, Mayor Turner, and other guests of our distinguished man of the honor. Happy 60th birthday, and plenty more to come. Now, of course, while tonight is your birthday, it's also a celebration of your service. We celebrate him as he has done so much for this community and continues to be an individual that rises up when we need him. We know Bishop Dixon is a man of faith and a man of activism. He's a champion of our children, which is one of the reasons I am so indebted to what he does on a daily basis. I've seen firsthand how he advocates for access to quality education and improvement in our schools, especially with our students that come from underserved communities. Because public education is one of our greatest pillars, it's when he stepped forward the most in reference to equality. In every leadership role Dr. Dixon holds, he's passionate, he's compassionate, and he is driven about what he is doing. He's an inspirational leader who doesn't back down to tough conversations. We know it, don't we? Bishop Dixon teaches us that it is extremely important to elevate community voice because so many times communities feel like they don't have what it takes. But one of those individuals that comes out of the bushes all the time is Bishop Dixon. When he lifts one of us up, he lifts all of us up. We all play a vital role when it comes to the positivity in terms of impacting society, and Bishop Dixon has dedicated his lifetime to the greater good of humanity. Above all else, he brings people together just like tonight. Just look around this room. Bishop Dixon, thank you. Thank you for all that you do, all that you bring to this community. We appreciate you and we love you.
Good evening, everyone. Happy birthday, Bishop. I am so honored to be here. I met Bishop Dixon 7 years ago in a parking lot in Starbucks when Kathy Griffin, another human trafficking advocate, said, "You gotta meet my bishop." And to be honest, I didn't want to meet him. We had just done a fundraiser with another pastor with churches, and I had moved here from Texas. I was making a film on how children in foster care were being sex trafficked. And I thought there would be more community leaders helping children and in the streets. And so I thought very ignorantly, oh, here we go, another community leader, another elected official talking about how they care about kids. Bishop has taught me a lot, and one of them was he was very gracious to me that day. He asked me to sit down and talk to him about what was happening in Texas. And so I told him, and he said, "I want you to come to my church." He said, "Do you know the difference between a cruise ship and a battleship?" And he told me that I was a battleship and that his church was a battleship. And so it took me a little while to get to his church, but when I did, his church changed my life. I really didn't know about God. I really didn't understand the way God works. And the Community of Faith Church, I loved it so much because when you walk in there, there's signs that'll say social justice, human trafficking, poverty. And the church is really a social justice center to help all different communities. And it's one of the most inspiring places I've ever been. And so whenever I meet anyone in Texas or New York or anywhere, I tell them, you have to meet Bishop Dixon. You have to go to the Community of Faith Church, because that's a church that's really doing church outside of the building and making a difference. And so I want to thank you, Bishop, for learning so much from you. You've taught me so much about diplomacy and having patience, really understanding that everything is in God's timing. We passed a state legislation bill for schools, and I was nervous every week. And he said to me, don't worry, God is sovereign, he has this. And what I've learned so much from him is that God is sovereign, and that there's nothing that you can't do or anybody can do if you follow your purpose and your assignment from God. And I want to close with this. I understand why you have so many assignments from God and why you have the toughest ones, because you have such an incredible heart. And I'm so honored to call you one of my very, very best friends, a person that we got to create No Trafficking Zone together, that you're the co-founder. And thank you, and I hope that you continue to teach me more about God. Thank you so much.
That was so moving. How are you, Kimbrough?
I feel like such a slug. So much I think I've done in my life, and I hear things like that, and I read about Bishop Dixon and what he's done in this community. It is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It truly is. He's a servant leader building on unity and following up the legacy of Houston's three amigos, the late Rabbi Samuel Karff, the late Bishop Joseph Fiorenza, and our beloved Dr. William Lawson. Bishop Dixon has become a true builder of unity, and for several years he's been proclaiming this powerful theme, we're one family with one future.
And here to honor this unifier for the common good, Randy Zerlinski with the Anti-Defamation League, Sanjay Ramabhadran, sorry, Sanjay, and I think Dr. Stephen Kleinberg, I have his name here. I didn't see Dr. Kleinberg here, but I did see Sanjay. He's not here. Sanjay is here though, so for sure. So, and Bobby Springer, come on up as well, President and GM at KHOU.
Good evening. I'm Randy Zarlinski, and while I work closely in relationships with the ADL, I work with the American Jewish Committee. So, yeah, Bishop's laughing right now. Hey, it's the Jewish community, right? Once again, good evening and happy birthday, Bishop, Mayor, Congresswoman. The gathering this evening is comprised of people in Houston who have made the communities in this city work by working together and building relationships. Whether one prays to Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, or Buddha, it is the respect of each other, and this is what has made America unique. As Bishop Dixon and I discussed last week, political extremism from the left or the right is not the future. Americans voted 2 weeks ago and expressed a desire for a time for change, renewal, and different conduct. The politics of division may work for a segment of a party, yet not for America. Both sides of the aisle have a majority that worries about the future of democracy in America. Americans expect and want our elected officials to simply work for them. This is the week of Thanksgiving. Many of us were immigrants and refugees from all regions of the world, fleeing the afflictions of poverty, oppression, and brutality. Many in America finally secured their freedoms long after their arrival. Others did not need emancipation. For most, America was chosen by the promise of a better life, and America took us in. Each of us is entrusted to understand America's past and guide her future. Each of us is responsible to create a more just America that is secure and free and caring for all the country's inhabitants. As Bishop Dixon has fulfilled over two generations at the church, we pursue our dreams while helping others, advance our convictions while respecting others, and prepare the next generation for the American journey. Thank you, Bishop.
Good evening, everyone. Bishop Dixon, I'm humbled to be up here to speak to you and say happy birthday to you. I am the President and General Manager of KHOU Channel 11, and I want to share a story with you about something that Bishop Dixon did for our team that I will never be able to repay him for. In the summer of 2020, as we know, there was a lot going on. And our team, all of our journalists, were getting prepared to go out and cover very important events all that summer. And there was a sentiment brewing inside of our organization where people wanted to talk. People wanted to get what was on their heart out. People wanted to be able to communicate with each other, but we didn't know how. And I think for anybody in this room who's ever been in a leadership role, when you look around at the people that are trusting you to lead them and you don't know what to do, there's never a more painful feeling you'll ever feel in your entire life, I promise you that. And as I sat there and realized that I did not know what to do, I did not know how to help this team break through to this other side and be able to have this conversation, I reached out to Bishop Dixon along with my colleague Dale Lockett. And he took the call on the first ring, and he allowed me to pour my heart out to him. And I got to share with him the things I'm sharing with you right now about my inability to lead a team through a really important moment in their lives and their careers. And without even a moment's hesitation, he said, I'm here for you. I will help you. I will help your team. And he did. He stopped everything he was doing, and I don't know about you, Bishop, but I was surprised. We had about 150 people in a Zoom. Think about a Zoom call at like 7 o'clock. I think it was on a Wednesday night. You had 150 people in a Zoom. And we've talked about a lot about your gifts tonight, Bishop, but one of them I can tell you is the ability, you have an innate ability to, one, help put everyone at ease, then help them open their hearts. And he did. He led our team through 3 hours of discussion where people who knew each other as colleagues but didn't necessarily know each other as people from every culture that you can imagine opened their hearts. And I want you to know that that has made a lasting impression on our organization. It did it at the very moment that you were there for us, and it continues to be. In fact, I have so many people who have come and talked to me afterwards that this was a moment in their lives where they felt like they understood and they had the courage to be able to talk to one another about it and be able to have the discussions that actually lead to good things. So I want to thank you for that. And I also want to thank you for the gift of courage. And I think that's one of the things we've talked about in this room is all the wonderful things you bring to the table. But I will tell you that for myself and for everybody else you touched at KHOU, it was courage. You gave us the courage to go forward, and then I think that came with a little bit of a string attached, which once you have that courage, you got to do something with it. And I want you to know that was time well spent. So thank you very much. Anything we can ever do for you, know we got your back. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Bishop Dixon, happy birthday. Everybody in this room, everybody in Houston knows about the wonderful work that he's done at the Community of Faith, the wonderful work at the NRG complex, the NAACP, speaking out against hate after the Buffalo shootings. The list goes on and on and on. I got to know Bishop Dixon about 21 years back as a servant leader and as a humanitarian that cares deeply about his fellow human being, irrespective of where they are on the planet and irrespective of their circumstances. So back in January of 2001, there was a massive earthquake that hit the northwestern part of India, which is where I grew up. 30,000 people died. Several hundred thousand were rendered homeless. We got a call from a gentleman by name Bishop Dixon. Not many, if any, in the Indian American community knew Bishop Dixon then. But he was relentless, deep care for his fellow humans in a place 10,000 miles away. How can I help? A few weeks later, we were at the Community of Faith for a gospel music night. There were folks in his flock that didn't know where the earthquake hit, didn't have a connection to India, but that is the beauty of Bishop Dixon. My father was a civil engineer and built a town of about 250,000 people, many churches that he built. So, as a practicing Hindu, I went to a bunch of masses on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, but I'd never been to a black church before. So I walk into the Community of Faith, and Bishop Dixon said, "You're going to talk about what happened so we can get folks to understand why they need to open up their wallets." We didn't have smartphones then. You couldn't take selfies from the stage. But that picture is etched in my mind. Getting folks to the Community of Faith, and the way you and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee that walked up to me and made me feel welcome, to say that if I was acknowledging folks when they stood up, when I was talking about what happened, that I was doing the right thing. So even at that time, he was worried about how I felt in his home. That's the beauty of Bishop Dixon. The result, thanks to his efforts and the greater Houston community, Houston adopted 2 villages and rebuilt them from the ground up. It doesn't stop there. These were folks that worshiped many gods, didn't want to live in the same village, but that is the beauty of folks helping each other, making sure that they came together in one place. And Bishop Dixon, I think it was late, I think they were talking about the deacons meeting till 1 in the morning. I think after the gospel music night at about 12 or maybe 1 in the morning, he came up with, this is how what we're going to call this. Because we care, we share. And I'll close with this. It's been a privilege to call you a friend the last 21 years. Thank you for all that you've done, all that you continue to do to make sure we not just live the American dream, but we preserve it and enhance it for generations to come. Thank you, Bishop Dixon.
Since 2019, Bishop Dixon was appointed to the board of Harris County Sports and Convention Corporation. This summer, appointed by Judge Lena Hidalgo and unanimously confirmed by Commissioner's Court, including Commissioner Ellis right there. Hi, Commissioner. Bishop Dixon became the first African-American chairman of this prestigious board. So, let's hear from some of the leaders of the Harris County Sports Corporation at NRG Park. John Hernandez, Kate David, Ryan Walsh, and Lyndon Rose. If you are here, come on down.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Is Mr. Larry Payne in the house? I would expect him to be here. So I have to tell a quick personal story about Bishop Dixon. So many, many years ago, I had the privilege of opening up a bank in 5th Ward at the corner of Lyons and Lockwood for Texas Commerce Bank. Working with Reverend Harvey Clemens, I asked Harvey, help me, how do I do this? I'm in a black Hispanic neighborhood in 5th Ward in Denver Harbor. And we were in a little conference room, and Larry Payne stood up and said, John, you better always have a prayer ready because you're going to be called to pray all the time. I didn't know I'd be called to speak on your behalf as well, but Harvey, I had to be ready with the prayer. So that being said, our shy CEO, Ryan Walsh, and our legal counsel, Kate David, and I are privileged to work with Bishop Dixon, who earlier this year has noted, and Rodney may tell you that story, Commissioner Ellis, about how that all evolved, but we have like recharged. So we have this chairman leading us at about 1,000 miles an hour who wants to accomplish everything today in making NRG a destination for the world. And the Texans are going to start winning football games. And the rodeo is going to get better. And we're going to have plenty of parking, and rideshare is going to work, and the food's going to get better, and the entertainment is going to be more hip-hop and cool, and you're going to enjoy it. So it is an absolute privilege and honor to serve with Bishop Dixon. I was talking to some folks here today earlier, and I was asked of leadership. And Harvey Clemens used to tell me in Fifth Ward all the time, keep an eye on that little Jimmy Dixon, that little Jimmy Dixon. And I didn't appreciate that 25 years ago, but now he is what I call a dear friend, and I applaud you for your leadership in the faith community, and bless your family, and happy 60th birthday. I didn't know you were older than me when you got into this, but I'm glad to know that now. So God bless you, Bishop Dixon, and your family, and to all those here, happy Thanksgiving.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great time. My name is Kate David, and I'm not a public speaker, which Bishop Dixon knows, and I think this is his way of making me grow, and it's a lesson, and maybe 20 years from now I'll be talking about this lesson and saying thank you. I'm not feeling it right now, but at some point I'm sure this is what he does, right? He makes you grow. That's what I'm hearing. So I have the privilege of working with Bishop Dixon at NRG Park, and you've heard this from others, but I will say he's brought a whole new energy to the park. And some of you are lawyers, the rest of you hate lawyers, but part of our job, right, is to tell people how things can go wrong. And so, you know, he'll have these great visions, and then I get to say, well, I don't know. I mean, there's this statute, and nobody's ever done it, and, you know, all of that. I get to be the buzzkill. But he's so wonderful because he's like, I know you can figure that out, right? We can figure it out. It's going to be great. And he's correct. Every time, there's always a way to get it done because his vision usually is, I think as everyone in this room knows, the right vision. He's guided by the Lord. And he helps all of us in that way. And even those of us who are boring, terrible lawyers get to be inspired by him. And so thank you so much, Bishop Dixon, for making my job more fun and more fulfilling, and for everything that you do for the community. We appreciate it so much. And happy birthday.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ryan Walsh. I'm the CEO of Harris County Sports and Convention Corporation and work for Bishop Dixon. I'd like to thank Maya Shea for letting me know that I was speaking tonight. And thank you, Bishop. I'm assuming this is another lesson that I'll learn is just be ready. Be ready, right, Bishop? But I do have to echo what John and Kate said, is the energy that we have in NRG Park is something we haven't felt in a long time, if ever, honestly. We're at the precipice of 20-year-old buildings. We're looking for what's next, and Bishop Dixon is that guy to lead us into what's next. I firmly believe in his vision. I'm appreciative of Commissioner Ellis for appointing him, appreciative of Judge Hidalgo for appointing him chairman, and very much looking forward to the chairman's term and what's next at NRG Park. The rodeo and the Texans, we're all behind him, all of us, the staff. We're ready to see what's next, and we're glad that we have Bishop Dixon to lead us into that future. So thank you, Bishop. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. Your wisdom and knowledge that you impart on me on a daily basis is very much appreciated, and your guidance, very, very welcome, much needed. Thank you very much.
All of that, and he preaches too. Anybody who knows preachers, they know it takes a toll. You got to do a lot. But he does all of that, and he preaches too. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of the greatest singers this nation and the world has ever seen. One and only Mary Griffin singing Wind Beneath My Wings.
Bishop, happy birthday. Where you at? Oh my goodness. Happy birthday. Where you at? I'm a PK, so I do know how to act. Thank you so much for everything that you've done, everything that you do. Tonight we're here to just bless you, lift you, elevate you, and tell you thank you. It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine. That's your way. You always walked a step behind. I was the one with all the glory. You were the one with all the strength. Beautiful face without a name. I never once heard you complain. Did you ever know that you're my hero? And everything I'd like to feel, I can fly higher than any eagle, with you as the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, oh yes, but I got it all right here in my heart. Oh, I want you to know, I know that it's true, that I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know that you're my hero? And everything I like to be, yeah, yeah. I can fly higher than any eagle, with you as the wind beneath my wings. Did you ever know that you're my hero? Yes, you are, and you're everything that I like to be. Oh, I can fly higher than an eagle, with you as the wind beneath my wings. I want you to fly, keep on flying high. We need you to fly, fly high, keep on flying high, fly, fly. I can fly. I can fly. I can fly. I can spread my wings. I can fly. And fly away. I can fly. I'll fly away. Yes, I will. I can fly. I'm gonna fly and be a rose. I can fly. Oh, I can fly. Hallelujah.
Wow, that was spectacular. Yes. I mean, what a great celebration so far, right, guys? Well, we got even more coming up. Bishop Dixon has forged great relationships with elected officials, including local, state, and federal government. And I know earlier tonight, and maybe a little bit later, there were some people who were surprised that they were called up to speak. At least the next few folks are never at a loss for words. That's because we have some special tributes from our local elected officials. Please give a warm welcome to State Senator John Whitmire, Representatives Jean Wu, just happened to be my favorite, Representative Ron Reynolds, Commissioner Ellis, Mayor Sylvester Turner, and who will all pay tribute to our servant leader of Houston's civic progress. Senator?
Good evening. I'd like to thank God for allowing us to gather like this tonight for this special celebration. We need more evenings like this where we come together for what's good in our society. I've been privileged to be Bishop Dixon's state senator for the entire 41 years. And as a fellow Waltrip graduate, it was exciting to watch an 18-year-old take over Piedmont Baptist Church, which was a small little white church, kind of boring. Who was it said they'd never, oh, John Hernandez said he got to experience an African-American church. Once you go black, you'll never go back to a cell. Because I grew up in a white Baptist church where everybody's unhappy, trying to stay awake, poking each other, and then you're exposed to the black community, and there's nothing like it again. In fact, I have people say, would you take me to a black church? So this young lady, I took her to Fallbrook about a month ago. I said, now this is not your typical community church. Looked like a Broadway production. And then I took her the next week to Yale Street Baptist. She saw the real thing. In all due respect to my friends at Fallbrook. Listen, on a very serious note, Bishop Dixon and I have spent the day in a car to go to Huntsville in our prison ministry program to mentor young inmates. That's where you really get to know someone's soul, not only in the trip in the car, but watching them do the Lord's work. Let me publicly thank you, Bishop, for making me a better state senator, a better father, a better friend, but most importantly, for making me a better Christian. Thank you, and let's enjoy the evening.
Good evening. For those who don't know me, my name is Gene Wu. I'm a little state rep out in Southwest Houston. It is my true pleasure to be here to honor someone as unbelievable as Bishop Dixon. And he is someone that I know has the favor of the Lord, that is blessed by the Lord. Few people can we have their 60th birthday celebration and still look like he's 35. All right? So you know that the Lord has blessed him for his good works. See, now remember, he paid me after that. He didn't pay me beforehand. Yeah, you know. But let me just say this. You know, I've known Bishop Dixon by his reputation alone. Long before I had the honor of working with him, I knew him by reputation. And what I respect the absolute most, and why he brings joy and light into my life, is his commitment, is his dedication, and his absolute love of the people that Jesus told us to care for. To look after the poor, to look after the needy, to heal the sick, to feed the hungry. He is truly a man who lives by his word and lives by his conviction. And for me, for someone who spends a lot of time fighting for the civil rights of Asian Americans, I know that he is my brother, because he not only fights for the rights of African Americans, but he joins me and holds my hand and guides me in fighting for the rights of my community. And God bless Bishop Dixon. And I hope when we come back for the 70th birthday celebration, he still looks 35.
On behalf of Judge Lena Hidalgo, Commissioner Garcia, all of us at Commissioner's Court, Bishop, we're so grateful to you for your leadership. Friends, you know, a mutual friend of ours used to always say, if you want to get something done, Congressman Green, you get somebody who's busy. And Bishop, I think that epitomizes your life. How he does it, I have no idea. Truly a Renaissance person. I want to first thank his parents who are here tonight, because you have shared him with us. You raised him well. Give him a warm round of applause. Thank you, Father and Mother. Thank you. I want to thank his children. His son is here. Thank you for sharing your father with us. His daughter is a fresh person at Xavier University in New Orleans. She cannot be here. And Bishop, I'm not going to repeat the story. So many great things have been said about you. I do just want to mention that you're a great strategist. No matter what the occasion, James Dixon has that gift. Not just the gift of words, but he has the gift of being a strategic thinker, no matter what it is. And we've all gotten those calls at the last minute. Somebody said 150 people on the Zoom. I've done it when there are 150. I've done it when you expected 50 and you had 5. But he never gives up. I do remember on one occasion I was late showing up at one of those events at his church, which is, you know me by reputation, I'm usually late, right, Mayor? And been known to leave a little early, too. But I show up, and, you know, he had a church full of people there, and he said, just 15 minutes, right, and you can get right out. So I'm sitting there, and I'm listening, and I'm on my phone trying to figure it out, and the Congresswoman was there, Sheila Jackson Lee, and I'm thinking, I know she goes to everything, but Bishop, she had a pillow. And I'm sitting here, and I'm listening, I'm trying to multitask and all, and they give me hell at Commissioner's Court anyway, and I'm trying to keep up with what's going on. And then I hear him say something about, well, you're going to have to lay down. I figured, you know, Sheila just going to so much stuff. I guess she got the dang pillow. She's just going to sleep in the church and go to the next event on the pew. And then he said something about, well, you know, the men are going to lay down on the street. And then they're going to stand up to help the women, to protect their women. And I'm sitting there thinking, then I whispered to him, I said, hey, Bishop, I didn't know what's going on. This is my nicest Italian suit. There are a lot of things I can do at Brioni, but laying down on the street ain't one of them. So I'm going to have to leave a little early. So then Sheila leans over and says, no, it's all right. That explains why she had the pillow. So we go out there. Troy Fenner, you were not the chief then. He blocked off the traffic, and he out there. I have no idea what this brother's doing. Al Green, Mayor, here was the concept. It was after the tragic shooting of Breonna Taylor. So he said the men are going to stand there to protect the women. And then I said, first of all, Sheila don't need no protecting. And this is my Breonna suit. Well, Bishop said, Rodney, I'm going to pray for you. Just go on out there and do like I asked you to do. Bishop, it was brilliant. Most of us in this line of work know how to get press. But Bishop, you get press with a purpose. So on behalf of all of us who are here tonight, thank you, James Dixon, for always being there. We love you.
You all know the commissioner doesn't have good sense, don't you? Commissioner Ellis, I tell you. Look, let me just be very brief. Let me start off by saying, Bishop, you do look 35. Now, where's the... Because unlike Gene Wu, I'm from Acres Home, the fofo. And I will leave this mic and pick it up. I said back there, no, he didn't throw that money up there. Representative Wu, he knew you. Let him throw that money up here while I'm up here. I'm going to say, praise the Lord. And go pick it up. Okay, let me do my part. To Maya Shea, KTRK, and Cambria Marshall, KPRC, let me acknowledge them. I tell you, these are two hard-working individuals. You call them, and they will come. So thank you. But look, let me just incorporate everything that has been said about Bishop Dixon into my comments. I'm like Commissioner Ellis. I too want to acknowledge, his parents. I've gotten to know this family for, I don't know, 30, 35, close to 40 years. When they moved the church from the Heights area off of Pinemont and changed the name to Community of Faith. I remember that long parade coming down Shepherd and to Pinemont. And then to his son, as Rodney said, and to his daughter. With all that you've heard, his commitment to his family, to his sisters and brothers has never been overlooked. And that's what I've admired over the years. He does a whole lot for other folk, but he has not overlooked his family. And so I wanna thank him. I wanna thank him for that. Look, there's so much that he has done. We have acknowledged Rabbi Karp and Archbishop Fiorenza and Reverend Lawson. And you kind of wonder, with those three giants, will there be others who will fall, who will come behind them to help to keep a very diverse community together, who will stand up for social justice and to making sure that those who don't have as much get it and be out there on the front line. Well, Bishop Dixon has stood up and is a reminder that even when you have your old warriors, and as they leave the scene, that God has placed some new warriors out there who are coming right behind them. Bishop Dixon, Bishop, you happen to be one of those warriors. He's on the front line. And lastly, what I would say is that we have gotten to know each other over the decades. He is a tireless warrior. He does care. He's very much committed. But I've also noticed that, he will fight other people's causes, and he will sacrifice himself for other folk. Tonight, in the week of Thanksgiving, we are assembled here, and it's not about the turkey and the dressing and all of that, but it's kind of fitting and it's appropriate that in the week of Thanksgiving that we pause to give thanks to a person like Bishop Dixon. And what we have to remember, service oftentimes come with a commitment. And it's one thing to see somebody out there on the front line for other folk, but we also have to bear in mind that people give of themselves and they sacrifice themselves when they could be doing a lot more to even enhance themselves. He's a pastor of Community of Faith, but at the same time, he's been pastoring outside of the walls of Community of Faith and being and spreading his ministry throughout the community. That comes at a price. Now, he doesn't have to talk about it, but for those of us who serve, it comes at a price. And oftentimes it comes at a price that we do not see. The importance of a moment like tonight is to say thank you, but also for us to show our appreciation. And I hope tonight, as we listen to all what he has done, that we bear in mind that it doesn't come without a cross, okay? And it doesn't come without personal burdens to himself and to his own family. So as we thank him, just bear in mind, to give thanks is fine, but it doesn't do anything at the store. It doesn't do anything to help him take care of his kids. To give thanks is fine, but he too has to live. And if you want warriors to stay out on the front line, then you have to lift them up and give them the support in order for them to stay out on the front line. Because every now and then, warriors on the front line, they need that supply to come behind in order for them to stay on the front line. Because otherwise, you will use them up. And if you use them up, then we become thieves, because we steal from them to benefit ourselves without giving them back what they rightfully deserve. So tonight, as we thank him and acknowledge him, let's not be thieves. Let's not rob from him to benefit ourselves and then leave him in his moment of need. I say that tonight as a brother. Didn't really intend to go there. But service comes with a sacrifice. And for those of us who love him, then let's lift him. And let's make sure he has what he needs to take care of his son and his daughter and his family, his sisters and his brothers. Let's do that. So, Brother Dixon, thank you, man. Thank you. I know what I need to do.
I hope others will do the same. And that when we leave here, it's not just a thank you and love you, but it's to show you that we care for you and we are here for you. That's the least that we can do in our city. So therefore I, Sylvester Turner, Mayor of the City of Houston, hereby proudly proclaim this day, November 21st, 2022, as Bishop James Dixon, the second day in the city of Houston. To God be the glory for the good you have done. Now come on up here, man, so I can present this proclamation. I learned this from the congressperson, Congressman Green and Congressman Sheila Jackson Lee. If y'all will come on up here. State Representative Gene Wu, if you come on back up here. Congresswoman Fletcher, if you'll come on up here. I learned this from Sheila Jackson Lee.
You'll be back. Don't worry.
Don't try to step up there. No, she didn't. No, she didn't step up here.
Do we need to go down there?
What? Okay, so we're gonna move it.
Balance it out there. Put you on in that wall. Put you on that wall. Don't be, you're not a tall one. I learned that a long time ago. All right. Sheila had to fill her way.
Only Rodney can remember. Only Rodney can remember those things. Only Rodney. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Whomever will be great among you will be your servant. When it comes to serving and having a social impact, for 41 years, Bishop James Dixon's life has been impacting people who are going through the toughest of times. His light is shining in the darkest of poverty. When he was a 19-year-old pastor, he started a ministry to provide food and cook lunch for seniors in the West community, where the church is located. Today, the church's Hope Over Hunger program, partnered with the Houston Food Bank, serves about 2,000 people every week. Dr. Dixon's light also shines in the dark world of human trafficking. As a founding board member of NTZ, No Trafficking Zone, and co-founder of NTZ Faith, he has given great support to NTZ founder and CEO Jacqueline Aludo, and he's also supported many trafficking victims to recovery. In addition, Dr. Dixon's light shines bright through his work with Samaritan's Feet, an international humanitarian organization led by Dr. Emmanuel Uhami. Samaritan's Feet has put shoes on the feet of over 8 million impoverished children in over 100 countries. Dr. Dixon has been an active board member for over 12 years. In 2010, the community of faith served 5,000 underserved children in one day. From Vision of Hope Treatment Center to Toys of Hope to Coats of Compassion, all of which were founded by Bishop Dixon. There is an undeniable evidence that a truly dedicated servant leader is among us.
You can certainly see that Bishop Dixon has forged relationships with all the members of Congress and the U.S. Senate on both sides of the aisle. Please receive our honorable federal officials here this evening: Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, Congressman Al Green, Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher.
Good evening. I'm Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher, and I'm so thrilled to be here with you tonight. I am honored and proud to stand here as we elevate and appreciate Bishop Dixon. Thank you so much for including me and giving me the honor of addressing you. And as Commissioner Ellis was speaking, I was thinking about a couple of lessons that I've learned in my time in Congress as he was talking about things he's learned over the years. One was don't speak after Congressman Green and Congresswoman Jackson Lee. So I got up here first. The second thing that I learned, that was true in chronological order. Right after I got elected, I spoke right after Congressman Green, and I sure wished that I had gone first. So here I am. The second thing I learned is this great thing that people do in legislative bodies. They say, I associate myself with my colleagues' comments. And tonight, I absolutely associate myself with all of the incredible words that have been spoken about your leadership, about your service to our community and our country. Bishop Dixon, we are so lucky to have you. And the third lesson I've learned, I was thinking about when Commissioner Ellis was telling his story. When I first got to Congress, one of the first pieces of advice someone gave me, they said, welcome to Congress, where you're always arriving late to something you have to leave early. And that is so true. And what's so important for all of us to know tonight is that Bishop Dixon is the opposite. He's someone who arrives early and stays late. And that is why this room is full of people who admire and love you, Bishop Dixon, because of the work that you have done for this community. Because every time something is happening here in our hometown and in our country and in our world, Bishop Dixon is the first one to call. He's the first one to be out there raising awareness, making sure that people know the importance of what's happening, and making sure that he's doing something about it, and he's calling all of us to do something about it too. And as we learned earlier, he's there until midnight or 1 a.m. making sure that it's getting done right. And we are so indebted to you for your service, for your commitment, for your partnership. I feel so lucky to represent this community and to be able to point to you when I'm in Washington telling people why I'm so proud to represent the people of Houston, Texas. It is because I get to represent you and the work that you do. And I just want to thank you all for being here, all of the elected officials, all of the honored and distinguished guests, all of the friends that I've come to know throughout this time. I'm so grateful to be with all of you tonight, and I'm so thankful for you, and especially you, Bishop Dixon. Happy birthday.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. What a celebration tonight. Let me hear you raise a roof. What a celebration tonight. What a room of outstanding leaders. And what better duo than Maya and Gambrell to be able to lead us. And I am appreciative. Both of them have a critical eye and a critical tongue. I'm so glad that he just said, and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, but it is a beautiful First Amendment. They are the hardest work, and give them a very big hand as well. I've seen them out on the road. Bishop Dixon, you have managed to bring together in this week of Thanksgiving people who have not had an opportunity to see each other. We have just come on the other side of the pandemic, and there's a great reunion here.
from those who are in public service, both by election and both by appointment. The grand icon, Howard Middleton, and Mrs. Middleton that we wish were here. Those whose voices we wish could be heard, and then those voices that are in this room. I thank my colleague Lizzie Fletcher, Al Green, and as well Sylvia Garcia, who I know sends her well wishes. It is important to note that law enforcement is in the room, bankers are in the room, business persons, as I said, faith leaders, just plain folks, and I want to thank the community of faith. They have followed their shepherd. I just want you all to stand up from the community of faith. This is the hardest working group of people. Honored to see all of you. Thank you for welcoming all of us in the church. Thank you for when Bishop Dixon says something one night before or that morning. You rise to the occasion. Give him another big hand. I like that tradition. My staff has to do the same thing. The NAACP is in the room, and one of our greatest leaders who mentored all of us, but has led Bishop Dixon in his now capacity that all of us said, you mean you haven't done it yet? You need to be president of the NAAC. Well, the pathway that led him there was the Honorable Howard Jefferson. I am so delighted. And Mrs. Jefferson, who is with him, give him, that's the godfather, that's the icon in the room. So let me take a moment to just describe the 3 H's. It's a brand that I hope he will keep. And then I will go to my seat. Historic, heroic, and when necessary, will give you heck, and because I'm in this room, you know the word that I'm using. I don't want to leave out unions because Claude Cummings is in the room, and that's a grand partnership. To the general manager of Channel 11, so glad you were gracious because you haven't gotten heck yet, I guess. But when we speak of historic, I want to join the mayor, and I want to not just wave this, but I want to say thank you, Mayor, for going there. As the chief executive of the city, you have the right to go where you want to go. Thank you. Give the mayor a very big hand for leading us. Get that envelope. But I want to say historic for many reasons, and I'm going to take this journey very quickly. Historic because his family are legacy family. The Barnes and the Dixons are iconic families. And Bishop Dixon could have been a pouty child. His sisters and brothers could have been privileged because of their names. But Bishop Dixon was called to be a shepherd at a very young age. If you know the story, Waltrip, was it not, Bishop? Early integration, but he walked in Waltrip with a briefcase. We knew where he was going early on. And when he took the helm of ministry, this young man had to build a church. And as the mayor indicated, I can count myself with the mayor as one of the few who marched from that old church, didn't drive and meet him at the end, but marched from that old church with his family, with his parents, to that new church on Pinemont, which is in fact not this church, but the church across the street. That's the history that we have. A young man, barely out of high school, that God gave him the call, and the good news is he accepted him. In this journey, he had to lead this great church. And in the course of his life, as has been indicated, he's never said no to crisis and catastrophe, and never said no to bringing joy and celebration. Historic. If I might, Bishop, forgive me, Bishop had a life-threatening car crash. It is unspeakable. Many of you may not know. God gave him grace. The car was totaled. They didn't know how he had gotten out of it. Some would say he would sit down after that. He would just reflect over his life. Take it easy. But he became even more the wind beneath our wings. A historic young pastor, historic leader. How do you go from being a pastor to endearing yourself to a raunchy commissioner? No, a dear friend of mine. He has endeared himself because of his work. And I'm so honored that Commissioner Ellis has this power and also this intellect to be able to uplift so many persons in county government and at least raised up the bishop's name on this Sports Authority board, and then for the judge to make him chair. Is that not stupendous? Historic. And then he is our hero. For every cause that would not do well for him, the causes he's been engaged in do not fit well in a boardroom, do not fit well for the invitation to places high and mighty. But when someone is killed, when someone has lost their life, when an officer needs comfort or family needs help, Manny, is he not there? Manny with Samaritan's feet first got here, as far as I know, to Bishop James Dixon, who had us washing feet and putting on shoes on thousands of children. We are grateful for that partnership. We love you, Manny. He is clearly heroic. Came from a life-threatening crash and is still going. And as I said, when there needs to be heck, he's out there to give you heck. When family members, when his nephew, your beautiful son, who's sitting there, I think, that's my adopted son. Look at him now. When he had his challenges, because family, there was Bishop Dixon and the whole family. He has time for you, and he has time for his family. To his son and daughter, I cannot believe I'm looking at the third, I think it's the third, looking at how tall he is. I consider him my baby, but he is wonderful with his beautiful sister. Let me finish on this. Give him a big hand. And I've already called Mom and Pop, and I will tell you why. For a period of time in my electoral life, I'll be a little humorous. On holidays, I was hunting out meals. Nobody gets it. Bishop Beatty. And I am delighted to be an annual guest. While Jason was growing up and I was just getting into Congress, and I would come home the minute before Easter, Erica, and we have a seat at the table at the home of the parents of Mr. and Mrs. Dixon, the parents of James Dixon. We did that for how many years? How many years? They grew up on your good cooking. What a wonderful thing to open your home almost to a stranger to a certain point, that we became like family. So you can imagine my concept of this great man. Finally, with elections, we would not be where we are today. There may be some unhappy people in the room. This is a bipartisan room. We love you dearly. Bishop Dixon is bipartisan. But we would not be here today without a man who reached out to ensure that everyone had the right to vote. I believe that he is owed a debt of gratitude for getting us organized. And he does not know, because I have not told him. We spoke, I was in Atlanta on Friday with Senator Warnock and organized a call with Senator Warnock and Bishop Dixon. Today they called me, Bishop Dixon, they want you to lead their national Zoom for pastors all across America to be able to get them going so that we don't lose the seat of Senator Raphael Warnock. This is the man that they're calling to lead pastors all over the nation. I hope you get a good Thanksgiving rest because they want you to do it on Friday. And so I close, ladies and gentlemen, with my announcement and proclamation that I will not read in its entirety, but I will add to the presentation of 41 years of pastoral ministry, community, national, and global impact, and his 60th birthday. And then, of course, this recounts his entire history, speaks of his uncle, Pastor Robert I. Dixon, son of the late C.D. Dixon, includes the fact that this is a family of pastors and a family of leaders and a person that never says no. Historic, heroic, and gives you heck when necessary. And so, before I give him his due and his flag, I wanted to make sure that if he had lemonade, that he would have these authentic, made in America, House of Representative cups. You all can, they can be washed and you can go have some lemonade with him. Iconic. I'm sure they're valued at thousands of dollars. And the chief of police and the fire department will realize that they are not contaminated and they are not illegal. But I also knew that he needed to be warm, just like our good friend Rodney said, we never know when we have to be laying down in the street. And so I wanted to make sure he had these true made in America House of Representatives socks to ensure that his little feet see us warm when he does another march that all of us will have to come in below zero temperatures. I just wanted to make sure when you come up, you'll get these goodies. Just one more. I know how difficult it is, so I made sure that HEB came bearing some gifts. And so we're going to give you about 4 of these. I don't know how many people you're going to have to feed, but you can go and get yourself a turkey. Y'all need a little humor. This is Saturday Night Live, but it's really. And if you need some more, don't know how many people will be at your home, but you got this turkey, you can have one. Ladies and gentlemen, I have loved this family and the ministry and message of this dear brother. So on behalf of the United States Congress, and delighted to be here with my colleague who will come in his own way as we say in the church, I thank the chairman of the Metro Board for being converted, and now we know that he will be at Baptist Church from now on. We know that John Whitmire has already gone over the tracks and never to look back. And the next time we hear from him, he'll be singing Sweet Low, Sweet Chariot. But it is my privilege. I can't let the mayor get more laughs, and I can't let Commissioner Ellis get more laughs. But let me just say, on behalf of the United States Congress, come on up, Bishop, you got to come on up. On behalf of the United States Congress, this recounts his life. And this is going to be placed in the United States Congressional Record. I think we need to know about a man that is historic, that is a hero, and that knows how to give you heck. You hold that, you're deserving of the commendation, respect, and admiration of the United States Congress. And we truly do mean this when we give these resolutions out. And as well, let it be known, and I always say this, that on January 6, 2021, they thought we would not stand for another day, that we would not transfer power in the right way. We did, and we have the privilege of bringing these flags. I did not get it from Home Depot. They fly down from Washington on an airplane, and they have been hoisted over the United States Capitol in honor of Bishop James Dixon, a great leader, a hero, a historic figure, and a man that knows when to tell you what you need to know. God bless you all. And yes, I'm going to ask my colleagues, I know he's going to do something. Come on up, Lizzie, please. And we will not stop the others. But remember, come on, Lizzie, hold the cup. Where's the congressman? He know he has to come up. He's going to get the socks. I'm not going to let Commissioner Ellis come on up. You had a grand Jean Wu. Where are you? One more of those pictures. All right. If you didn't skip out, you stand in. And Mayor, you can keep your head down, but you're coming back up here. Take the sock. Somebody take a sock. I got the cup. Hold the sock, my good friend. Oh, you want to hold? He wants to hold the. Give him a turkey. We never know what his needs are. Is that all right? We don't know how challenging life is.
Only in America.
Only, as Don King would say.
All right, Jeff.
Got it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. You got them all up here.
All right, thank you.
Got it?
I have. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Am I there? Yes, sir. Okay. Don't forget the envelope. God bless all of you. God bless the bishop. God bless the United States of America.
Let's have another hand for the Honorable Sheila Jackson Lee, please. And the Honorable Lizzie Fletcher, please. Friends, I have faith in the community of faith. I have faith in the community of faith because we know that when there are troubles to be dealt with, if we can go to no other place, we can make it to the community of faith. Let's hear it for the community of faith, please. I have faith in the community of faith. I am so honored to be here with our mayor. This is all about the bishop, but I have to say this, dear friends. We have been blessed to have Sylvester Turner as our mayor. We have been blessed. We have been blessed to have Sylvester Turner as the mayor of the city of Houston. When we had Hurricane Harvey, we couldn't have had a better mayor. Pandemic, couldn't have had a better mayor. Let's hear it for Mayor Sylvester Turner, please. Texas size. We have been blessed. I have to acknowledge my friend of many long years, Howard Jefferson. I have to acknowledge him. He was the guy that was there when I first ran for Congress to tell me what I needed to hear. He constantly reminds me that your associates tell you what you want to hear, and your friends tell you what you need to know. Howard, thank you for telling me what I needed to know. If you would, Howard Jefferson, please. Howard Jefferson, my friend. Rodney, what can I say, brother? You always bring the house down. Rodney Ellis has one of the most brilliant political minds you will ever meet. We now have 4 Democratic commissioners because Rodney Ellis is on the commissioner's court. Let's hear it for my dear friend, Rodney Ellis, please. You made a difference, brother. You made a difference. Bishop, the greatest testament to you and to what you stand for is the fact that William Alexander Lawson Bill Lawson is an honorary chair of this event. Bill Lawson, William Alexander Lawson, Bill Lawson, the man who marched with Dr. King, the man who brought Dr. King here and celebrated him when others were avoiding him. That's a great testament. Bill Lawson. Now, Bishop, let's hear a little bit of truth. You and I have something in common. I just celebrated my 25th birthday for the third time. So, Bishop, we got to just be truthful about these birthdays now. They said 35. That's 35 for the second time. Bishop, you really have done great things in a short period of time. And I say it sincerely. In 60 years, to have accomplished what you've accomplished, to assume the responsibilities that you have assumed, it's remarkable. It is remarkable. And I'll share this brief vignette about the bishop. True story. Bishop organized a march in Washington, D.C. to protest voting rights in front of the Supreme Court. It's a true story. And I have the evidence of it because I was there, of course, and I have this band that I wear. But Ron Reynolds was there as well. I don't see Ron here tonight. Is he here? Ron? How you doing, Ron? All right. Ron, come on up, because you know this is true. I may need you to protect me after I tell this story. I'm bringing Ron up with me. I don't know whether he's on the program or not, but come on up, Ron. This is a good man. This is a good man. This is a true story. Ron and I and the bishop were supposed to march in front of the Supreme Court, and after the police ordered us to move from the street, they were to do it 3 times, and then we to be arrested. So they came out and they told us, you're blocking traffic, impeding the traffic, and if you don't move, we're going to arrest you. Then they came back a second time. You're impeding traffic. If you don't move, we're going to arrest you. They came back the 3rd time. They said, okay, well, we're going to arrest you. Ron and I looked around. We were there to be arrested. The bishop had left. That's a true story. The bishop was on his way to the Capitol. This is my band that when I was arrested, they put this band on me, and I said, I'll never take it off until we pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I'm going to keep this band on. But the bishop had gone over to the Capitol because there was a disturbance and there were some members of Congress who needed some help. So he left. It was a good cause. It really was. It was a good cause. It was a good cause, but the bishop left to go and help those 2 women who were protesting over at the Capitol. So, Bishop, I love you. I'll never forget you. I'll always remember you. And I'll always remember how you were there for me, Bishop. You were there for me, Bishop. I'll never forget it. And I'm here for you. And Bishop, as I leave, I want you to know this. But Ron will tell you it's true. It's a true story. Bishop, like the mayor, I believe that we should give something more than words. Words are important. They mean a lot. But sometimes you need a special opportunity to have some downtime. So, Bishop, my pledge in here is a round-trip ticket for 2. That would be you and whomever you choose to take with you. Your son? All right. Well, if the bishop's wife is here, would you please identify yourself? He's looking for you. She's here. And by the way, Bishop, hold on, Bishop. No harm, because if my wife is here, I want you to identify yourself too. Bishop, birthdays are catching up with us. But Bishop, round trip for two, anywhere Southwest flies. By the way, these are first class tickets on Southwest. First class, Bishop. Anywhere Southwest flies. Now, this is true. The first class with you and whomever you choose, because after tonight, Bishop, you're going to need it. God bless you, Bishop. Let's hear it for Bishop James Dixon. God bless you. Thank you, everybody. Who am I to pass the mic? My staff has reminded me that I, too, have a flag that was flown over the Capitol. Thank you. Bishop, you must be pretty important. You're getting 2 flags, but listen, I'm going to spare you coming back up, okay? You've been up for the flags, but I, too, have a flag and a certificate of congressional recognition. I will, in a very modest way, step over and present this to you, Bishop. Thank you so much again for all the love and affection you've shown to many of us, giving us opportunities. I have faith in the community of faith. You have been a faithful shepherd, and your flock is here to celebrate and to commemorate and to let you know how much they love you. God bless you.
I'm going to be brief. I know a lot has already been said, and some of y'all are probably wondering, why is he dressed like this to come to Bishop Dixon's event when it said black, and no, they didn't say black attire, it says business attire. I want you to know, Commissioner Ellis, that agenda that I told you that we were going to have on the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, our first meeting, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I thought it would be 1 hour, Mayor Turner. It was 3 hours. 3 hours. But I am proud to say that we are contributing $100,000 to the Texas Legislative Internship Program so that we can fund T-lippers in the Texas Capitol. So I'm very proud of that. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Ellis, for your leadership. So let me just say briefly that Bishop Dixon, you know, I didn't know Congressman Green was going to give all the tea. I thought he was going to leave out the part that he left us, right? Right at the time that we were getting arrested. I thought he could at least offer us some prayer and comfort as we went into shackles. I really did. Bishop, you let me down. This is the first time I can publicly tell you that. Since Congressman anyway. Listen, let me just say briefly, Bishop Dixon has been the moral compass in leading the fight in the Texas legislature for voting rights. He really was. Across this state, a lot of legislators got a lot of credit. And Gene, I'm happy to see my colleague, Representative Gene Wu, who was one of those soldiers on the front line, and many of my colleagues in the Texas Legislative Black Caucus. We were bold, we made good trouble. But behind the scenes, Bishop Dixon was our moral compass. He was leading the way with Pastor Freddie Haynes in Dallas, and they led the clergy across this state and across the country, going to not just to Texas at the Texas Capitol, but making sure that they had it to the U.S. Capitol. And Bishop Dixon often doesn't get enough credit in his own backyard, where people all over were marveling at how articulate he was, at how passionate and how motivated he was as a figure. And I said to myself, I wish that people back home could see the reverence that people across this country, legislators all over the United States, Bishop Dixon was that person. I want y'all to know, and some of the pastors, y'all know it. I see Pastor Ogletree and other pastors, I'm not gonna get in trouble, that were on those calls, but it didn't just happen overnight. He led calls, there was planning, there was meetings, there was due diligence. But Bishop Dixon was the quarterback, just like when he was in high school. He was the quarterback that was calling the shots. And it was no big I, little U's. He was leading by example. And Bishop Dixon, I'm happy that you're getting your flowers while you can smell them. Because God knows far too many times we wait and we're at funerals telling people how much they mean to us. So Bishop Dixon, I don't have to say much more. There's a flag also flown over our Texas state capitol. And there's another long resolution. I'm not going to read it, but you exemplify it with your actions. And I'll say this and go to my seat. This election on November 8th, when things looked real gloomy, things didn't look good. There was a person who said, we got to do something. He wasn't a party chair or he wasn't an elected official. He was Bishop James Dixon. He said, we got to stir it up. We got to raise the ante. This election is too much at stake in Harris County. We have to make sure that we're turning out the African-American vote. We got to reach out to black men. And he had a special call of action for black men. He made sure that ministers were utilizing souls to the polls that they so desperately wanted to take away from us. And he led that. And he worked with pastors. And I got him on another call in Bexar County because they needed to hear from him. And we did statewide calls that Bishop Dixon led. I say all of this to say he called up leaders of this community, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, Congressman Al Green, Mayor Turner. I'm not going to keep calling out names, but he called out leaders in the city and brought us together to make sure that we raised the resources and the awareness to make sure that they didn't get people out of office that needed to be in office to represent our interest. Bishop Dixon did that. And because of him, I really truly believe, but for his effort leading the way and others that joined in, I truly believe that there would have been a different outcome in Harris County on November 8th. That's a fact. You can verify that. There was a significant increase, Claude was there. There was a significant increase in African-American turnout. Once that happened, once we hit DEFCON 4 and we put those call to actions out, we saw the numbers going up. Every day we would track it. It started going up. It started going up. And he didn't stop until the polls closed on November the 8th. And Bishop Dixon, there's a lot of elected officials, a lot of judges, there's a county judge, there's some county commissioners, there's a lot of elected officials that have D next to their name that wouldn't be there but for your sacrifices. And for that, I want to say thank you, and we should all be grateful for helping save our democracy. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Rep. Reynolds. You know, when they invited Kimbrell and I to MC, we were honored. I don't think we knew it was going to be like a roast and toast. Bishop Dixon wears the hat of social justice and social impact leader, as you've heard from so many people today. And where there is a human crisis or human injustice, he's always at the scene providing guidance, advice, passion, advocacy, and of course you've all seen him many times in front of the cameras speaking so eloquently about the causes and concerns that matter in this community. So please receive these partners in social justice as they pay tribute to Bishop Dixon, including Claude Cummings, Howard Jefferson, Dr. Virgil Wood, and Pamela McKay, Vice President and GM of Radio 1 Houston. Come on down.
Good evening, everyone. It's really been a nice evening, hasn't it? Really has been. Let's give him a round of applause again to Bishop Dixon. So Ron, I need to make sure we set the record straight on Washington, D.C. in that march, because I was there, okay? I wanted to get arrested too, but Bishop Dixon wouldn't allow me to get arrested. because he was afraid that he needed me to help him get out of jail because he knew I had some money. He said, you had Congressman Green to help you. He needed me to help him. So that was the other side of that story. And Bishop Dixon does step up, and he steps out. He is, you know, to listen to the remarks tonight, what I would say, I'd use one word. He is one who believes in stepping out and doing the right thing. His feet and his mouth move in the same direction. He is one that's responsive to the community when needed, and I certainly appreciate him. When I saw Carol, and I've known this family for a long time, when I saw Carol come in, I thought to myself, Lord have mercy, it's been so long since I've seen Carol. Carol used to work for AT&T, and I probably would not be here today standing as Vice President of the Communication Workers of America if it had not been for Carol and her support of me when she was with CWA. And Carol would call me, if there was an issue going on, she would call me, Claude, we got to do something about this. We've got some issues over here at Westland Toll. You got to get on it. We got to do something. We got to do something now. We got to do something quick. We need to have a meeting. And so now, 30 years later, I'm the first vice president under her son, the president of the NAACP. And about 3 or 4 times a week, Claude, we got this issue going on. We got to do something. We've got to get out and speak. We need a news conference. We have to have a march. So I certainly appreciate everything that Bishop Dixon has done. He is just like Carol. He is one who responds to the needs of the community, and I do everything I can to try to fuel. He has a lot of ideas. And like Mayor Turner said a couple of minutes ago, you know, you need someone sometime to fuel some of the ideas that take place. And so I'm happy to tell all of you that I try my best to fuel every idea that he has. And I think that we've been successful, and he's a successful leader because of that. And it makes no difference whether it's marching on Austin, marching in Washington, D.C. with Reverend Jesse Jackson and others, where he is so well respected. He believes in speaking out. And we need more leaders that speak out like Bishop Dixon does. And so I certainly do appreciate him. Let me just tell y'all an interesting story, and then I'll take my seat. We were flying to Washington, D.C., Reverend Bishop Dixon and I, and while we were on the flight, I think we gotten word that, that the president was getting ready to sign the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill. And while we were on that flight, Bishop Dixon said, Claude, we're going to the White House to watch the bill being signed. And I said, now how is that going to happen? I said, we haven't sent in any information or our social security numbers and all the other stuff that you need to send in. He said, I don't know, but we're going to do it. And when we got on the ground, he started calling, I think it was Sheila Jackson Lee and some others. And I thought to myself, well, we're getting ready to get arrested now, because Bishop just told me that he said, all we need to do is go to the gate and just tell them that we're here for the bill, and we'll be able to, the signing of the bill, and we'll be able to get in. Do y'all know that we got into the White House and we actually had an opportunity to see the signing of the bill? I suspect that Congressmember Lee had something to do with it, the two of them, but we were there with no security clearance or nothing, nothing else, just giving our names. So certainly he is one that I truly admire, truly love, and I have learned so much under his leadership since he's been the president of the Harris County NAACP. And as Ron has said a couple of minutes ago, the African American turnout in Houston overperformed like never before, and it was because of the leadership of Bishop Dixon, him pulling together calls, him pulling together conferences, news conferences, and things of that nature. So we certainly are blessed to have a leader like Bishop Dixon. God bless you, Bishop Dixon. I pray that you have many more birthdays. And if I may for just a minute, give honor to you, Howard. I recently was elected to the National Board of the NAACP. Howard Jefferson stepped down so I could take that position. And I wish y'all would give him a round of applause of that. I took his position with the NAACP, and I appreciate you thinking enough to allow me to sit in your seat at the NAACP National Board.
One thing, Claude. Claude, you forgot to tell these people my wife hired you. Well, many of you have told about all the good things about Reverend Dixon, but I was with him 41, and Dixon was a pretty tough character to deal with. And I spent a lot of time, as they have said, counseling with him. But I feel mighty proud that a couple of weeks ago, Reverend Dixon called me. He said, old broom. You know, I tell this joke about a new broom may sweep clean, but old broom know where the dirt is. So he called me old broom. He says, I don't have an agenda. I just want to thank you for the leadership you've given me all of these years. And that meant a lot to me. And thank you, Dixon, for lifting me up there. So I'm not going to take any more time. And I hope whoever follow me, follow my lead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Uncle Funky Larry Jones from Magic 102. God bless you. Thank you. I am a visionary of the Community of Faith Church, 1024 Pinemont. And I just want to say, Bishop, I never would have made it. I never would have made it. I never would have made it without you. You got to know that. Recently inducted into the Texas Radio Hall of Fame along with our Vice President, General Manager, Ms. Pam McKay. Our journey goes back through Dad, through his best friend, Thomas Miles Sr., because once upon a time, Thomas Miles Jr., nephew Tommy, was on my morning show at Magic 102.1. Still one of the most famous skits we ever did, Miss Pam, Santa Claus in Acres Homes. Tommy wrote that. We were invited to the Miles house, and Dad and I connected. Dad said, well, you got to come to church with me, and the rest is history. So that's how that works. So God bless you both. But Bishop, on behalf of Radio 1, our founder, chairperson, Ms. Kathy Hughes, our CEO, Mr. Alfred Liggins, and Radio 1 Houston, which is Praise 92.1, 97.9 The Box, and the People Station, Magic 102.1, I want to present to you our third general manager, vice president of color, and the first of her kind in the 45-year history of Magic 102. Would you please welcome Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ms. Pam McKay.
So Bishop Dixon, there's been so much said about you already tonight and so much more that could be said. But how you know when a person's audio and video matches is when all the people that get up to talk about you relatively say the same thing. And has anybody in this room ever owned a really, really beautiful handmade quilt, like the one that your grandma makes? And the things that make those quilts so beautiful is two things. It's one, is that all the pieces of fabric come from different places, different garments, different people, they're different types. And then the other thing is that the threads that sew it, that unify it, they're different sizes, they're different lengths, sometimes the threads don't match. And I think that's a representation of this room and this city, and that Bishop Dixon is that thread that unifies all that fabric and brings us all together. And we just want to tell you how much we appreciate what you do, how much we respect you, how much we love you, and how much we're here to support you. And so on behalf of Radio 1, we want to present you with this crystal microphone. This says to Dr. James Dixon, a trusted voice of the community.
So Bishop, Miss Pam asked me, she said, "You've been to the house?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Does he have anything like this?" I said, "I don't think so." Doc, congratulations. And I'll just share one last piece. There are 3 people who have a direct hotline to our studio at any time. One is Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. The other is the Honorable Mayor Sylvester Turner. And the third is Bishop James Dixon II, at any time. God bless you, sir. Cam?
All right, thank you. I'll just stand here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a delight to be here. And we're not waiting until a funeral is in order. You know, I have a friend, Bishop, your friend too. Tell them who I am. I'm Grandpa 3 to the children of the world. I worked with Martin Luther King for the whole time of his 10 years of his national work, and then Daddy King for the next 16 years, which make mine 26 years with Daddy King. I want to finish what I want to say about the spiritual genius of Bishop Dixon, the spiritual genius. Y'all know the world is about to fall in. Didn't you see last Sunday's paper? And all of those babies too soon gone? Did y'all see that? Come on, talk to me. Listen, I've been on this journey for 92 years. I'm doing stuff that a whole lot of y'all ought to be doing. We got to save the children. Rosa Parks and Nelson Mandela finished their career on behalf of children. On behalf of children. We don't get it right for the children, nothing is going to work right. And while we're getting it right for the children, treat us old folks right too. I want to say to everybody in here who's above 75, don't let the society tell you you're old, you're finished. Sit in the corner and shut up and leave as soon as possible. I'm going to tell you, hell no. Hell no, we got work to do. My favorite speaking is elementary schools. I asked the little children, will you let me be Grandpa 3 for one day? I know you got a wonderful Grandpa 1 on one side, Grandpa 2, but I'm Grandpa 3. I want you to never forget what Grandpa 3 going to tell you tonight, today. I said, listen, the day you were born, the Lord God Almighty stopped everything he was doing and called your name and sang a lullaby. And I say, if anybody tell you that ain't true, you tell them to see Grandpa 3. You know what happens? At the end of the session, the bell rings. Those kids are supposed to go back to school, back to their classrooms. They line up around the wall with their little selfies and come up to get a hug and make a picture together. Listen, y'all. Y'all here tonight, and there's leaders and all who, we know Bishop Dixon, even down in Virginia, Bishop, my corner of the wood down there in Charlottesville, Lynchburg. Bishop came down there and did his doctorate. This is Dr. Bishop. Y'all know that? And led that school in some things that are. They're on the verge right now of transforming prisons into universities. And in one generation, we'll be through with prisons if y'all stick with that agenda. There's some billionaires who heard me say that there's a prison over there in Louisiana called Angola. 18,000 square feet. 18,000 acres. Acres of land. It's called Angola because the first slaves there were from Angola. Listen, the most violent, maximum security prison in America, on the planet, until 5 years ago, when the theological school established a campus within the prison. Now they've trained over 500 inmates with clergy, seminary level training, and the violence is gone, but that ain't enough. We're going to transform that prison into a town where the corporations are already in there working the brothers to death and giving them 10 cents an hour. But I'm going to tell you something. If we do what we ought to do, 7 years from now, Martin would have been 100 years old. And I'm so sick of us doing stuff in his name. Stuff that you can look at and smell. You got to do something that's going to give people some housing and put some food on the table and create some wealth. And I want to prophesy tonight two things. Two things. When Angola prison becomes New Angola, you will see a town that is economically viable, and the wealth that circulates will circulate from the bottom to the top of the pyramid and never stop. Y'all ought to give me an amen on that one. I want to prophesy about Georgia just for a minute. I'm going to go sit down. I'm going to go sit down. I want to prophesy about Georgia. I want to tell you why. We must not ever forget the pioneers who made it possible for us to be where we are now. What did the Bible say? What did the Bible say? That great cloud of witnesses. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. What is the evidence? The evidence is the folk who got it right yesterday. And the substance is what y'all going to do with what they left. I want y'all to hear me on this, because I'm so grateful for what Bishop has done. I'm new in this community, 17, 18 years, retired here, and I was the Martin Luther King speaker in the Woodlands when I first even knew about Bishop James Dixon. I was out there with my little books and stuff, and this gentleman came up to the table and said, how many books you got here? I said, I got 40 books. He said, I want to buy them all up. I said, well, Bishop, I got a list of other people who have some too. His passion and his strategy is going to help us get where we got to go. Don't forget that for every last one of us in here doing all right, we got brothers and sisters who are languishing in the gutter of life right now. And I'm so happy to be my friend, Dr. Dixon. I want to tell you what the black church got to do, and then I'm going to go sit down. Y'all know if it hadn't been for the black church, we wouldn't have had a civil rights. Everything was born in the church. Even the HBCUs were born in the church basement. But I want to tell you about Daddy King real quickly, then I'm going to sit down. Martin's daddy. When Martin King first started talking about nonviolence, Daddy King was a Malcolm X. He didn't want to hear that about nonviolent stuff. Watch this. When Martin was assassinated, I had my work in Boston. Boston's the only city that didn't burn on the night of Martin's death. Young men were in our chapel. Thought, well, we're going to burn this mother down tonight. And I said, listen, son, if you burn tonight, you're going to burn your own grandmama's neighborhood down. Don't do that. I knew they didn't have nuts enough to go downtown and talk about burning. And they talked and talked and talked, and finally they said, okay, whatever it is y'all want to do, we're going to be with it. Boston was the only city that didn't burn that night, because we'd been in there working in the bottom of the ghetto. and people knew that the church was with them. Now I'm gonna bring this on in right now. Just give me 2 more minutes, because I want to tell you about Daddy King. Y'all know about Martin, but I want to tell you about Daddy King. When Martin was killed, watch this. 6 years later, Mama King was killed sitting at the organ playing the Lord's Prayer, 1974. And then A.D. King, Martin's brother, died of a swimming accident. He was a perfect swimmer. And then Daddy King said, they tell me there's 2 people I'm supposed to hate. One is black, one is white. One killed my wife, one killed my son. He said, I don't hate either one of them. And I went to see George Wallace and said, I'm here because you are my brother, whether I'm your brother or not. Gave Wallace a ticket to heaven, and he took it. And George Wallace and Daddy King in heaven right now, playing chess together and looking down and saying, I wonder when they're going to get it together. George Wallace showed up at that church. I'm talking about why, and I hope this word gets over to Georgia, why every black person in Georgia got to vote for Senator Warnock. And I'm going to tell you why. Jimmy Carter ran for president and got off track, and Daddy King went to see him and put his arms around him and said, Jimmy, good old boy, let's vote for him. They put him in the White House. But I want to say something. If we do what we ought to do, if you got people in Georgia, you tell them that Daddy King gave George Wallace a ticket to heaven, and he took it. And George Wallace showed up at Dexter Church and said, would y'all let me have a few minutes to say something? And they said, okay. They rolled him in a wheelchair. This was after the bullet show. They rolled him in a wheelchair, and he looked at the audience and said, thank you for letting me come here today to speak. Y'all know my story. Racism, Jim Crow. He said, I want you to hear that. Bishop, let me just say this here. I want people to hear this here. I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right. He looked at the audience and said, I caused y'all a lot of suffering. That was after the bullet and after the wheelchair. And he said, I hope you can find it in your hearts to forgive me. Guess what? As they rolled him out of that sanctuary, those brothers and sisters stood in the edge of the pew and shook his hand. And a deacon over in the corner started singing, oh, amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Now listen, all I want to say, that sweet, sweet sound of the black church is what has brought us through. Yes, sir. And I want you to keep the sweet, sweet sound. Yes, keep it going. And let what Rosa Parks did, that the black man should have been doing. Rosa Parks had to do what we men hadn't done.
Yes, sir. Thank you, God. Come on, give a hand to a 92-year-old Dr. Virgil Wood.
Just in time. You know, Aretha Franklin put this song out, and I re-recorded and covered it. Gotta find me an angel. You know, I think for such a time as this, we gotta find an angel. And hold on and don't let go. Yeah! Thank you, Daddy, for giving us history. Even when they don't want to hear it. Gotta find me an angel to fly away gotta find me an angel who will set me free. My house without a home, and I don't wanna be, yeah, I don't wanna be alone. Gotta find me an angel. Oh yes, I do. In my life, oh yeah, in my life, yeah. Too long have I loved, so out of touch with them. So much that I know, so much that I know, that I need someone so. Still I just go on. How bad that I find someone, that I find me an angel in my life. Yeah, mama, got a Bishop has given so much, and we all have talked about that tonight. But all I want you to know is for such a time as this, God has brought us here. We gotta raise up in that frequency. We gotta put us in a place where God can use us, where God can elevate, where God can move you. We gotta understand when the old folks are talking, listen and understand exactly what they're saying to you. I know there must be, oh, someone out there for me, 'cause I've lived too long. Oh, I've lived too long without the love, without the love of, without the love of someone. And there is no misery, oh, in this love I see. Gotta find me an angel in my love, yeah. Oh, don't you even worry. Do you have an angel? Hold on and don't let go. Be there. I'll be there for you. Don't you worry. Yeah. Be there for my angel. We love you, Bishop.
That is some good singing. Good singing. Thank you so much. Servant leader of this community, we want to call to the podium here those who represent that servant leader faith community. Bishop Cedric Hamner. Also, Emmanuel Hone, the founder of Samaritan's Feet, and then Bishop Sheldon Beatty. You come in that order, please.
Thank you so much, and good evening to all. Certainly we honor God, honor our bishop, Bishop James Dixon, who gives leadership as the presiding prelate in particular of the Kingdom Builders Global Fellowship, which I am a part of and representing that fellowship on tonight. The time does not permit, my vocabulary perhaps is too limited to express the impact, the profound impact that Bishop Dixon has had on all of us over these years. We really signed up and signed on in that fellowship because we knew that the hand of the Lord was on Bishop James Dixon. It was a January day in 2007 at L'Enfant Plaza there at the metro station. There was a scantily dressed man playing a $3 million Stradivarian violin. Thousands of people passed by that morning. That man only collected in his violin case about $43.67. About 27 people stayed, listened to him briefly, but the bulk of people passed on. Unbeknownst to all of them, the man playing that Stradivarian violin was the violinist virtuoso Joshua Bell. The night before, he had sold out the Boston Symphony Orchestra at a ticket price of over $150. That night, he would sell out the Kennedy Center. People passed by as he played that $3 million Stradivarian violin. He only got $46. The story helps us to see and understand that people rarely recognize greatness when they see it. Tonight, Bishop, we recognize your greatness. Dr. Cornel West said, what makes you great is not the money that you amass, it's not the material that you collect. What makes you great is when you're able to take what's in you and put it in somebody else so that they become even more than you ever were. I want to thank you tonight on behalf of KGBF for taking the greatness in you, putting it in us. And remember this part, that the best is still yet to come. God bless.
Well, Bishop, I wish I had more time tonight, but everything I want to say has been said. And I actually wrote a couple of things down, Bishop. I said, my name is Manuel Homey. I'm a founder and CEO of Samaritan's Feet. And the Bible says, greater love as no man had than days than someone that laid down their life for a friend. Bishop is an amazing man that when nobody else believes, he'll be the first that believes. I remember my chance when I met Bishop. He wasn't even thinking he was going to come rest in Charlotte. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he said, man, he told one of my mutual friends, I don't know if I have time to meet that guy tonight. And then I met him for a few minutes. And I told him this story about this little boy that grew up with no shoes until a missionary gave him his first pair of shoes. And that God called that little boy to now put shoes in the feet of 10 million. And Bishop said, I got to meet that young man. And we sat down, and 5 minutes became 10 minutes. It became an hour. It became 2 hours. And I've been able to shake Bishop loose ever since that day. He's been my friend. He's been a mentor. He's been a board member. He's been a champion. He's been an advocate. He's been a supporter. He's been a servant. When I told him about Samaritans, he said, we got to bring this to Houston, Texas. That we want to serve 5,000 people in one day. And he brought Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, brought county commissioners and mayor of the city and leaders. He said, let the greatest amongst you be servant. And he got them to wash the feet of the poorest of the poor. And that's when I realized greatness lives within you, Bishop. Because it ain't about the measure of a man, it matter how much you have in your pocket. But he could call the greatest people in the city to be humble, to serve. That told me the type of measure of a man you are. Even when my board forgot to believe in me, you never stop believing. You always told me that greater is yet to come. And because of support, we're going to serve our 10th million person next year, Bishop. Thank you for believing when nobody believed. God bless you. You are great, and the best is yet to come. We love you, Bishop. Keep letting your light shine.
Again, Bishop Dixon, happy birthday. It is an honor to be able to stand here with my friend for over 30 years. His daughter and my son are best of friends. And she's in school and he's in school. So I represent them and all of the pastors who have been blessed. During the pandemic, Bishop Dixon called a night of prayer. And on Monday nights, we would come together and pray fervently for our country. We would pray that the peace of God would be our portion. Bishop, thank you. On tonight, we have spoke with our words about the things that he has done. And our words have spoke about his past. And tonight, our presence has given honor to him by being in the present with him. But it is our generosity that will give him the support for his future. I encourage each and every one of us to display our generosity. I've taken the envelope, and hopefully you take that envelope on your table right now and just lift it up, if you don't mind. Take the envelope that's on your table and lift that up. It is in your hand now to be a support to Bishop Dixon. I'm inviting all pastors and faith leaders to join me on the stage. All pastors and faith leaders, come join me on the stage now. Come on, let's show Bishop Dixon our support. He has led us, and it's time for us to show our heart for him. Give these pastors a big hand. Thank you. And these faith leaders as they come. Come on. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. They made it very convenient for all of us. Thank you for coming to the stage. Keep on coming. Give all of these faith leaders a big hand. I would do like my friend Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and move the podium and take a picture, but I won't do that tonight. I got it from her. And our mayor has already showed us what to do. It is time now for us to do what we do best as pastors and leaders, and that is to encourage people to do their part. You have an envelope that is right here. We're going to pray about it, and then want to ask you to consider what you will give and then give. That will pray about it. Pastor Gilbert, if you don't mind, just lead us in a prayer.
Lord, we thank you for bringing us together to sow seed in good soil, that the harvest may come. We've truly been blessed by the works of Bishop Dixon. Now allow us, touch our hearts to give back and be a blessing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Take this time now, consider what you will give, and let's do it now. Yes. Correct. It is by Zelle, Cash App. It's all on your card right here. Correct. And you may leave the card on the table after you complete that. There'll be a representative that will come around to all of these tables that will pick these cards up and make sure they get to the appropriate person. It is our support now that moves him forward. Bishop, we appreciate you, and now we're going to show it. Which table is going to participate with 100%? Any table here participating 100%? If I can hear any table participating 100%, let me see you make some signs, and just by waving your envelope, any table participating 100%. Thank you. I think every table here has 100% participation. Isn't this a good thing? Thank you very much. Thank you, pastors and leaders. God bless you. Thank you.
Well, so 41 years, 60 years as a birthday celebration. We want to make sure that we avoid staying here until his 41st birthday is over and he's 61 years old. So much has been said, Bishop. It's been an amazing evening. You've heard an awful lot. People here tonight want to hear from you, though. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please, let's give a nice, warm, happy birthday. Thank you for your pastor leadership, Bishop James Dixon.
While you're standing, give an ovation to Cambrell Marshall and Miss Maya Shea. Come on, give it up for them. Also for Bobby Springer from KHOU, thank you so very much. We've got so much media in the house, Magic 102, and all of those. Thank you, Uncle Funky Larry Jones. I didn't know Nephew Tommy was here that I stood up here now. Give it up for Nephew Tommy is in the house. We're really glad to see you. Really glad to see you. And we praise God for you and for your beautiful mother, of course, Miss Ethel Miles. So good to see you, Mother. God bless you. And all of you who are here, all these pastors. I'm going to be extremely Presbyterian brief tonight. I'm so honored on so many different levels. There's so many people whose names I could call. I would just be calling names for the rest of the night. But to all of our elected officials, we appreciate you, Brother Robert Wood. Thank you so very much. Met this brother on the back of a wagon a few weeks ago at the Astros parade, and did not realize I was riding on the wagon with a kind of Hall of Fame football player kind of guy, and just an incredible human being. Thank you for being with us on today. Dorian from Chase Bank, thank you so very much. All of you who have not had a chance to say anything, but your presence is speaking volumes. We just thank God for you. Ernest Walker, thank you so very much. We appreciate you. Dorita Hatchett, all of you, and certainly to the staff and team of the Community of Faith Church. Would you give it up for all of them who've done such an outstanding job. Crystal Jackson, Kirkland Hall, Tanya Dixon, Tony, all of you, the whole staff and team, and to our officers and trustees, thank you all so very much. Give it up for the deacons, officers, and trustees. We had space on the program for y'all to come say something, but we're trying to cut across the field right about now. We appreciate that to the highest. Let me just quickly say this. My son, James Wallace Edwin Dixon III, would you stand up, son? He's wearing my clothes now. And he stepped up in church Sunday with one of my sweaters on. I said, son, I didn't leave that out for you. And he said, I know, Dad, but I just saw it. I just saw it. He is just an admirable young man, and I'm proud of him and proud of my daughters as well. Victoria's away in college. She won't come home until tomorrow, and she was so regretful that she couldn't be here, but they gave me gifts on the other Sunday. I appreciate them to the highest. And what can I say about my family? My father and my mother, James and Carol Dixon Sr. Now, I just called my daddy and my mama's name. I'm going to try it one more time because y'all missed the hits of the night. It's James Wallace, Edwin Dixon, and Carol Elaine Dixon. Would you give it up for them? My siblings and now, Tanya, Tim, and Calandria, know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we have nothing to claim that's worth anything that they're not responsible for. It is just the truth of the matter. What Claude Cummings said about my mother, I was Dorian, I was a baby almost, just a baby, when I would hear my mother on the phone with her union calls. And my mother, you don't want to be on my mother's bad side. You don't want to break a law. You don't want to break a policy. My mother would make sure that it gets enforced. That's on the Barnes side of the family, Sandy. She would just, look, if y'all need a union representative right now, she'll come out of retirement. I promise she would. Yes, indeed. But we got that earnestly, but our parents have supported everything that we have done and attempted to do. I still have not figured out how when they had 3 of us before Calandria came, they made all the basketball, volleyball, baseball, track, not just games. My dad was at the practices and working full-time, both of them, more than one job most of the time. When people say, where you get your work ethic from? I got it from them. I got it from them. I remember when my mother was a director assistant at Southwestern Bell and working for the cleaners on Shepherd. I remember when my dad was working at Cleco at night after working at the funeral home all day. And I remember when the phone would ring at 2 in the morning, he had to get up and go pick up a body across town. My biggest dream was one day to let me ride with my daddy before the day break to go to work. And when he took me one morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, we went to the morgue. In the funeral business, it was the morgue. But to me, that was the highlight of my life, to go to work with my father. So I've got a background in the history. I've inherited the mantle of parents and grandparents who on both sides were Christians and leaders and servants. Titus Barnes never cooked enough barbecue for the house. It was always for the neighborhood. My grandmothers on both sides were missionary-minded women. My grandfather, C.D. Dixon, never drove a new car. Bishop Beatty, he pastored for 50 years, never bought a new car. He was a janitor at Heights States Bank during the day and the pastor at night. But I honored him because he worked at the bank and was a preacher. I inherited those things. And God today has blessed me to live where I live and ride like I ride because of the seeds that were sown by people who came before me. And I'm in the stage of my life now that I close out. In fact, I was going to have Sarah Ballard to sing a closing song, but I think I just want to have my daddy to sing the Lord's Prayer because he's 82 years old, and you never know what's around the corner. But let me say this as I close tonight. I need your prayers because at 60 years old, I've been blessed with grace and mercy. I just want you to say those 2 words, grace and mercy. Yeah, everything that looks like it makes sense in my life, only grace and mercy explains it. I don't want anybody to get the false notion that I'm standing here because I've done it all right, because that might discourage somebody who's done some wrong. I want you to know that God, in the words of the late A. Lewis Patterson, can take a crooked stick and hit a straight lick. I want you to understand what grace really means. Grace means that God can take that which has no worth and make it look like the most valuable thing you've ever seen. Grace means that God knows how to take that which has absolutely no merit and give it merit. so that people will know that it had to have been him that did it. I'm standing here as a visible portrait of the grace and mercy of God. If my test score looked like my own efforts, I'd be a failed student. And I'm not ashamed to say it. Mercy took my failed score, put the blood of Jesus on it, and rewrote the test and gave me an outcome I never could have earned. And I don't want anybody to leave here tonight thinking, wow, that James Dixon is just an amazing guy. I want you to understand that who I really am, you couldn't stand to know. If you knew my whole story, it wasn't told tonight. You couldn't handle my whole story. Just like you dressed up and covered up some scars tonight and put on some makeup and got your hair fixed. That ain't the real you. The real you is the you that comes off when you get home. I need you to understand that they didn't tell my whole story. And God wouldn't let you know that because you couldn't take it. But I tell you this one thing. I'm here because he keeps on looking beyond my faults and seeing my needs. Why do you work so hard, James Dixon? It's the rent I pay for the grace God keeps on showing me. How could a God be this so good to somebody like me, and then I be too lazy to serve, too arrogant to care, too callous and cold to help somebody else? I'm just here tonight to let somebody here know that at this stage of my life, all I want to do, Cambrell, is finish well. I'm starting the fourth quarter of my life. Wasted days are all behind me. The evening sun is sinking fast. I've got to live up to the mercy God showed me. So when I see Jesus, I want him to say, I didn't waste my grace on you. I want him to say, I gave you a whole lot of mercy and you did something with it. That's why I am in my life, Rick. Thank you for being here, Ricky Anderson. I mean, that's really where I am in my life. And I want my children to say, my daddy turned out all right and left me a name that'll mean something after I'm gone, because I'm still inheriting blessings now from Reverend C.D. Dixon and Velma Dixon and Titus Barnes and Victoria's Barnes, and they're long gone. And I want my children and my children's children to say he left us a name that was worth something. Pray for me, because I got a mantle that's heavy to carry. It's a burden every day, and every day I know there's a crown lifted above my head that I'm too short to wear, and I'm trying to grow tall enough in integrity to one day that it fits. Thank you for being here tonight. I praise God for every one of you. Thank you for loving me enough, caring enough to spend this time. I know it's a late night, but if it was a funeral, you'd be all right if this is 3 hours. I'm just simply, Pastor Lawson couldn't get here. Pastor Bill Lawson wanted to be here so bad. He literally trembled in his chair, telling his children, I've got to be there to speak for Bishop Dixon. And it was too cold and rainy for him to be out here tonight. But that man has poured into me. Howard Jefferson is responsible for me knowing Pastor Bill Lawson. I'm about to close on this. I need you to understand that whatever you are that's worth something, you didn't do it by yourself. It was Howard Jefferson. I was at a meeting. I was 19 years old. Elizabeth Space was on the school board, and she came to my church because her daughters liked this young preacher who was preaching, and she came to see if I was worth my salt. She let them join my church after hearing me preach. She said, well, you sound intelligent. She invited me to a meeting at the home of the late Dr. J.B. Jones and Edith Irby Jones. I had nothing to say because I don't talk when I'm in the presence of old people. I listen. And at the end of the meeting, they said, well, we need somebody who's going to speak out on this issue. And Elizabeth Space says, this young preacher here is articulate. He ought to lead the press conference. And I was feeling good because I said, man, they see something in me. And Howard Jefferson said, hell no. And I said, who is this old man who's trying to ruin my life? He said, I'm not going to let y'all do him like that. He's too young, inexperienced. If he gets out there now, they'll kill him before he gets started. And if he's that gifted and smart, we got to protect him until he gets strong enough to handle the opposition. He took me to a room after that evening and said to me, young man, you don't know me, but I just saved your life. And if you trust me, I'll mentor you. He became my mentor that night. And then he soon said to me, you need to know Reverend Lawson. Took me to Reverend Lawson's house. I started sitting in meetings till 12 and 1 o'clock at night, grappling over the city's problems, learning how to lead. And one day, he and Reverend Lawson took me to a meeting with the school board superintendent. And they said to him, Reverend Dixon is the present and the future. We are the present and the past. And he said to them, if y'all want, at the same hotel we're in right now, at the meeting in this hotel, said to the superintendent, don't call us, call Reverend Dixon. He's leading from here now. That's how I got to where I am. Seniors, old people, giving me a chance, Manny. I want my children to understand that. I want all of us to understand that. If you honor those that God has sent before you, the Bible is right. God will raise you up. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm so honored that Howard Jefferson and Zona were able to be here. He's been trying to get me to be the president of NAACP for 20 years. He's so glad I'm there now. Let's close as a family. I'm so glad of all the diversity here. My parents taught us, people are people. Black, white, brown, Hispanic, Asian, people are people. And if we can all learn that and live it, we can all make the world a much, much better place. I'm going to ask my father to sing the Lord's Prayer as we leave here tonight. James Wallace Edward Dixon Sr. We grew up in a household of singing. You know, we sung and had music all the time. And my parents made sure we all learned music. We were doing music theory when we were in elementary school. My parents met at the Prairie View A&M University in the a cappella choir. My mother won his heart. He couldn't take it. And I want to say to you, Father, thank you for being big enough to make yourself little so we could become big. Thank you for not buying new suits so we could have clothes. Thank you for not buying new shoes so our feet always look good. For the things you put in us that money can't pay for. And when Mary was singing that song, Wind Beneath My Wings, I had her to sing that for you and for Mom. Because y'all have been the unnamed hero and shero for us to have a chance to shine. Thank you so very much. I love y'all so much. Thank you, sweetie. Let's pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Oh,